Hello, kia ora. My name's Helen and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I discuss all my crafty adventures like knitting, crocheting, sewing or any other crafts that I might do. I'm just sitting down with a cup of tea and I thought I'd have a chat to you as it's looking like the month might get a bit crazy. It's not a very long podcast today because I'm only going to talk to you about one finish and 3, they're actually new cast-ons. Well, one's a frog and a cast-on, which we'll get to a bit later. But I'll start off by introducing myself. I live in New Zealand, so I'm a Kiwi. I live at the top of the South Island. And in a place called Tasman, which is quite close to Nelson. It's quite a warm day here today. It's about going on 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've just had the afternoon off where I've been out with my daughter to a sort of like a mini course on looking after things when they go wrong, like with babies and toddlers, like choking, CPR, burns, all those horrible things, but it's always good to know. So me and her decided we'd like to just go and get a little bit of an idea of what to do. So we've just been there and then I've just come home and thought I'd sit and have a chat to you guys. So I've got one finish, which was a new cast on last podcast, and it's a crocheted what is it, moss stitch crocheted shawl. It's a triangular shawl. So I ended up buying 2 balls when we were away last month on a bit of a short holiday, and I started straight after we got back, and I decided that I would just crochet the 2 balls until they ran out. So I've washed and blocked it, so it is as big as it's going to be. So you start from here with a magic loop, and then you increase it on both ends every row, and it grows into a lovely triangular shawl. The colours are really, I think, quite autumny, but almost rainbowy, which it's not the sort of colours I usually go for, but I think it's turned out really nice. And then I did end up, excuse me as I get up really close, I just had this amount left over of the second ball. They were big 150 gram Sourdough balls of yarn that were a mix, so they were acrylic wool mix, and I ended up, I'll put the description of what the yarn was down in the description below. It's feeling really warm. It's washed up a little bit softer. It was feeling quite stiff when I first made it, but it has washed up quite nicely into, sort of softened. But that'll be nice for draping over my shoulders on a cold evening. So that's my only finish. And then the first whip that I've got was one I showed last podcast in October that was going to be a vest with alpaca wool, and it was going to be cabled all over, and I really wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't kind of in the right headspace to be taking on something really challenging, like the whole row being different as you went along. So I decided, I'd only got to about here, I showed it last podcast, so I've decided to frog it back. I was also concerned about the sizing of it, so I decided I wasn't going to put all that work into it just to find it was too small. So I decided to frog it right back, and I've ended up starting a different vest. So that's in one of my pretty bags that I've made, and the yarn that I'm using is It's a yarn called Gaia. It's made here in New Zealand. The colour's Tanzanite, and it is a, what does it say? It's a 75% Merino, 25% Alpaca. So, Gaia. And the pattern I'm using is not what it's going to turn out like. This is the colour here. So it's a lovely teal sort of colour. And the pattern I'm using I found free. It's a drops design. And it's a vest that was also done in alpaca yarn, but it has slits on the side and it's open down here. So I'm not doing that. I ended up just using it purely for the numbers. And I started knitting it. I did all the ribbon, started on the, because I'm doing a cable up the centre and a smaller one up each side. And I started it, and I got probably to about here, and I thought, this is ridiculously wide, and I'm doing the front and the back together tubular, so I just took the numbers of the stitches, put the whole lot on, and I'm just going round and round and round. So this is looking better, but I ended up having to frog the second go because it ended up being so wide, and I ended up putting it on some what do you call that? Butcher. Is it? Well, I'll just put it across the front what it's called, but just took it off the needles so I could try it on, and it turned out to be about this too wide, which when I worked out with the rib, it turned out to be 40 stitches too wide, which is 20 front and 20 back. So I ended up deciding, right, I'll cast on what I had before minus the 40 stitches, and I'll do the rib, which I've done 6 centimetres of rib. And then I've started doing a cable in the middle, so it's like a braid with 2 stitches of purl either side, and then up the middle of the seam, the side seam, I'm just doing a really close 3 rows between it, just twisted cable with also 2 rows. And I thought that would just break the plainness, but also, you know, like it wouldn't be straight stocking stitch, and it would be more interesting to knit. So I've got this far so far, and I think it's a way better fit. So I've ended up, the pattern, I can talk about it because it's a free pattern. You were supposed to cast on, I cast on 144 stitches, which was, I'm 47 inch bust, which the biggest pattern was 51, and I thought that would give me a bit of positive ease, but looking back I should have actually done the size before. So with what I worked out was the right width, I had 122 stitches, and the back piece, you either had the next 2 sizes down were 116 stitches or 128 stitches, so I decided mine worked out to be 122. So then when you finish the rib, you change to a bigger size needle and you decrease, I think it turned out 10 stitches, 10 stitches at the front and 10 stitches at the back, so that was 20 stitches I had to decrease. But I worked out that the next size was, I needed to have either 118 or 130 stitches after I'd done the decreases. So I decided I would do 106 or 118. So I decided I'd do the next size down than what I had originally done. This is all getting very confusing. Which meant that I needed to have 118 stitches. So I just worked out how many I had and how many I needed at the end so that I could get back to one of the sizes that's in this pattern, so that then I can do the right decreases under the armholes and also have the right amount of stitches for the neck. It's got a rounded neck, which I quite like, because then I can wear it over t-shirts and you don't have to. I don't like a v-neck if you've got a round necked t-shirt. I think they look better with shirts underneath. So this way I can wear a shirt or a t-shirt underneath it in the autumn and early spring, just for a little bit of extra warmth. So I'm really happy with how it's knitting up. I'm really happy with, I think I've got enough yarn. It worked out I could get 7 centimetres out of a 50 gram ball, and I had 12 50 gram balls, so it's working out if I can get 7 centimetres out of each ball. By the time I've done 39 stitches from waist for my armhole down to where I want the length to be, I will have enough to then do the front and the back and the armholes and the neckline with the yarn. So I think I'm going to be alright with the amount of yarn I bought, so here's hoping. So that's my frog and new cast on. So that's one project I'm working on at the moment. And then on a complete whim I think it was last Friday, I was watching a video of, her name's Jackie, let me have a look and see whether I've got it written down. Jackie Cook, I think, is her name, and she does the Sunday Shrug, and I was watching a video of a lady that was working on the Shrug, and I thought, oh, that looks really nice. That would be really useful to have for, if you go out in the evening and on a summer and it turns cool in the evenings or something, just to put it on. So Jackie Rose is her name, and this is the Saturday Shrug, which is, it's supposed to be worsted weight, and she's also got instructions on the back for the free patterns for a DK variation, and I've seen lots that she calls the Friday Shrug, that's done with two fingering weights held together double, so that you're getting more or less a DK. So I went, our local Spotlight, which is a department store here, Australian owned, but we've got them all through New Zealand, had a sale on, and so I went in and got a couple of these Caron Latte cakes, because I really liked the neutral colours in this one. So I've started working on it. So you cast on, I ended up casting on what it said for the worsted weight, because this is supposed to be, they call it bulky. Where did it say? Somewhere it said that it was bulky, and I thought, oh, okay. So I cast on the amount of stitches it had for the Saturday Shrug, which is the worsted weight one, and it looked so narrow, so small. I thought, no, this isn't going to work. So maybe my gauge, it's working up to being knitting like a DK. So I ended up finding out how many stitches the DK needed, and I've cast that much on. It's still really narrow, but you do a provisional cast on, tubular cast on, which has got tons of stretch. So obviously it's supposed to stretch right, round you. You just have it shrug over your arms. So I'm going to knit it just as that, the tube. You knit it, it's knit one purl, one rib all the way. I'm just started off with a darker grey, then the creamy colour, then a silvery grey, and I'm just starting back up on the darker grey, and it's just going to turn out to be stripes, I think. And I'm just going to knit it, it says for 20 inches. So I'll knit until that's that, and then you do a tubular cast off as well, so it's nice and stretchy. Some of the ones I've seen are really quite big around the neck, so I'm wondering whether I might, when I get a certain amount of length on it, I might go down in a needle size to just cinch it in a little bit so that it's, I don't want it to be hugely baggy around the top. I'd rather it just sat like a cowl around the neck. So that's what I'll do, and I will just see how that goes. But this is a really good knit to take up to my grandson's when I'm babysitting on a Thursday, that I can just knit while he's occupied or while he's having his naps or that kind of thing. It's just really easy to pick up and put down. It's going to be a really mindless good knit, I think, so I kind of always need one of those on the needles. So that was a new cast on. It was a complete surprise. I had no plans for it. I just saw the lady, I think she's knitting by the Lakeside. I'll link her channel. She was knitting one, and then I found a video of Jackie Rose talking on a Scottish podcast that all the different ones, and she was showing all sorts of different colour variations and stripy ones and all the Saturday, and she's also got one called Sunday, which is done with a really super bulky yarn, and then her Friday Shrug, which is the fingering double. And I thought I'd do it now because I have a couple of advents for starting it in December, and for the first time ever I've had a couple of 24 advents for little 20 gram minis, and I thought I would, I might do a sort of stripy one in the fingering held doubles, so that I can kind of variegate the colours and make it more colourful. So we'll see. I may have changed my mind and use my advents for something different when I, unwrap them and find out what they look like. But yeah, so I wanted to get this well on the way so I knew kind of how they sat, how they felt on, so that I didn't, knit a second one and then find out that I really don't like wearing them. So we'll do this one and we'll see how it goes, and I'll try it on and before I even start thinking about doing an advent one. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. It's just lovely and mindless, which is always a good idea. And then my last work in progress was also a bit of a surprise and an impulse. I started another blanket. Now I've seen it on a couple of podcasts, but I saw it on Rachel's on Sewrayme, and she's been working on a granny square that's called the Fireside Blanket by Lucy from Attic 24, and she was really enjoying doing, making it, and I was looking at it and thinking, oh, that looks really cool, and I really enjoy making granny square blankets. And I was thinking, my husband, this last winter we're starting to get a bit older. We were starting to feel quite cold in the evenings, and he wanted to have a blanket that he could throw over his lap, and so he started using this one, which is one that I did a couple of years ago. It's a flower one, all pinks. I did it for myself. This was before I was even started podcasting, and here he was sitting in the lounge with this pink blanket on him, and I was thinking he needs his own. So I decided I would start doing this fireside blanket. So I went and looked at all my acrylic yarns, and I had some that kind of went together, and I went in also to Spotlight while they had the yarn sale, and I bought some, I think it is the Four Seasons Marvel 100% acrylic. They have a really lovely range of colours. It's double knit, and so I ended up making myself up a palette of colours. I ended up buying, I had the yellow, the blue, I bought the mustard, I bought the tealy green, I bought the brown here. I already had this fawn and this green, and I bought brown and cream. So I bought 5 extra balls, just so that I could, you're supposed to have 12 colours, and I think I've only got, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, I have got 12, because there's a pink one hiding there as well. So I started doing it very randomly, and I've ended up really enjoying doing it. It's so it's the Fireside Blanket from Attic 24. It's a free pattern, and you make it as you go. So it's got a row of just normal granny squares. You do a strip of 10. Is it 10 or 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10. And then you do these bigger squares, and the blanket ends up having 9 of these bigger squares. Now Rachel on hers has done, she hasn't done the centre, she's just done 2 colours, I think. Well, she might have 1 colour centre, I can't remember. But anyway, I decided that I'd just do all of the same centres, and then I'd just do a few more rows of this middle colour and then an outside colour. So when you come to do the outside colour, you join it onto the previous square as you go. So I've done, I suppose, 2 rows you could call it, because the big row and the little row. So the next row is another whole row of the smaller grannies, 10 of them. And then you do another row that's got the 2, the big, the 2, the big, the 2, the big, the 2. So I'm really liking that, and I think it's going to be, even though it's got pink in it, I think it's going to be scrappy enough and multicoloured enough for him to, he already quite likes it, so that's going to be his blanket for next winter. So hopefully I'll have it finished by then. I'm just concentrating on my knitting at the moment, but I'll go back to doing some of the squares. Again, it's a bit like my sweet shop blanket, where it's going to be too warm to work on it. We're starting to get sort of 23, 24, 25 degree days, and it's just a little bit warm to be having a rug, because you've got to have the whole thing on your lap. So I possibly won't do that much of it from now on, but I do knit through the summer, so I'll just pick and choose what I knit on, and yeah, just do little bits of both of these other 2 projects, and that's pretty much what I'm working on at the moment. I have a few ideas coming up for Christmas makes, so I will possibly, I won't do, certainly won't vlog every day for Vlogmas, but I might just do a little bit of filming here and there and build up a week's worth, and then put a Vlogmas vlog out maybe once a week or once every 8-9 days or something. We'll see whether I've got enough content, and we'll hopefully put up at least a couple of videos through December. I know it gets a bit crazy, although we should be having a quieter Christmas this year, but we will have a Christmas with a baby, so that'll be really exciting, and it's going to be really cool to enjoy Christmas with him this year. So I think that's pretty much it for today. It's, like I said, pretty quick. So I have shown already that I've done a few, well, I showed me making crackers with the sourdough discard. I've started doing a sourdough starter, and started trying to do some sourdough bread, but I haven't had much success with the bread so far. The first time I had a go, it was way too wet. I used the ingredients that said on the recipe and it turned out just really wet and loose batter, so every time I shaped it, it would just spread into like a pancake shape, and so I ended up with bread that was about this high, so that was a disaster. The second time I used a book that I've been recommended by quite a few people, and it definitely turned out a lot better. It stayed in shape, it was great, but I misread the recipe, and if any of you do sourdough, it said to do a bulk rise, and then on the page at the behind that, it told you that, you know, you could take anything from 6 to 10 hours or something, and we weren't having that warmer temperatures at that stage, so it took about 8 hours to rise. And then when I turned the page, it said that you needed to do all these folds, stretches and folds during that bulk rise, and I hadn't. I'd just left it on the bench, and so then I thought, well, I need to do all these stretches, so I did them after the bulk rise, which turned out I ended up knocking all the air out of it, I think. So, and my oven's obviously a little bit different in temperature, and it said to cook it for 20 minutes covered and then take the cover off and cook it for a further 30 minutes. But when I took the cover off at 20 minutes, it really didn't look that cooked at that stage, and I thought, oh, well, the 30 minutes will carry on cooking it, but it wasn't. It was quite doughy, I guess you would call it, so that wasn't very successful. So I'm going to have another go this weekend, and hopefully I'll end up with a really nice loaf this time, because I've read the instructions properly and I've done it all. But the crackers turned out lovely, and they were really, really tasty with the seeds and things that I put in them, and they were just really nice to have a snack or to have as part of my lunch with some hummus. So yeah, that was really successful, so I'll do that again. And I've also made pancakes, and I plan to make some naan bread or some flat bread or something to go with a recipe at some stage with the sourdough as well. So I'm really enjoying the journey of that. It's a bit of a rabbit hole that I've jumped down, but and it's all a big learning curve, so I think I'm gonna just have to persevere. I kind of almost felt like giving up at the weekend when my second loaf, well, it was better, but it certainly wasn't still great. I've carried on eating it because it seems to be alright if I toast it, so I've been having toasted sandwiches, or I had mashed banana on it today for lunch just because I needed to use up a banana, and I toasted that first, and so I am using it. It's not going to waste, but it's definitely quite heavy, I would say, is the way it is. So yes, so that's been a bit of a rabbit hole that I've also been doing, as well as all my crafty adventures. So yes, hopefully I'll get on top of it and end up with a loaf that I'm really, really happy with. So I'll keep going, and we'll see. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you get some time to do some crafty things yourself. I hope you enjoy all the time that you get to do crafty things and the lead up to Christmas, and we'll see you again in December. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.